Welcome to the Mandela Rhodes Foundation podcast, under the auspices of our founding patron, Nelson Mandela's dream to build exceptional leadership capacity in Africa. We invite listeners to journey together with us as they hear intimate, behind-the-scenes stories that helped shape the journeys of remarkable African leaders and people on the rise. The Mandela Rhodes Foundation podcast is a platform for authentic and personal narratives of what it truly takes to rise to leadership with a uniquely African lens across a range of topics. Hello everyone, welcome to the Mandela Rhodes Foundation podcast. And I'm your host, Mantombi Makubele, the External Relations Manager for the Foundation. And today, I am with Dr. Kenechukwu. Did I say it right?
I think you tried.
Nice what are you giving me?
I'll give you a C+.
C+?
Yeah.
Kenechukwu?
Okay, B.
B.
Very
okay,
close.
I'll stay with the B.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get started, I will ask you like they do in Nigeria. I just want to know how you're coming in. So how are you day?
I did fine. In my language, we say Anomunkoma. It means I am doing well. It's good to be here.
Thank you for that. I'm also doing good, although you didn't ask me. But I forgive you because you gave me a B for your name. I'm also doing great, excited about our conversation that we're having today. And I've just been thinking about what I read the other day from the Business Insider. So they brought out a list, of the most entrepreneurial nations in Africa. And South Africa came first. And surprise, surprise, Nigeria was at number 5, which was a shock for me because I always thought, Nigerians are hustlers.
Yeah.
So before we even get started in this conversation, I just need you to paint a picture for us of what the landscape currently looks like when it comes to entrepreneurship in Africa.
Yeah, that's an interesting place to start. Let me begin by saying I don't even understand this thing about Nigeria and South Africa always competing for everything. But if you look at the ranking, it's based on several factors. First is that South Africa has more, in terms of developed financial ecosystem, more developed infrastructure and other support system for entrepreneurship. Nigeria, on the other hand, lags behind on those factors. But if you look at actual entrepreneurial intention, Nigeria is way higher than South Africa. Now, about 90% of micro, small, and medium enterprises in Nigeria fall within the informal sector. So it's difficult to actually collect data on those businesses that are not formalized. So the data collection procedure, methodology is also another reason for that. But Nigeria is considered the heartbeat of the continent for a reason. You see the energy of entrepreneurs, the sheer number, but in terms of the quality and the startup ecosystem, South Africa is leading. So if you are looking at the formal measurement, yes, you could give South Africa the number 1 place.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you're on ground in Nigeria, you will see that. Like you have been on ground. That's why you're able to say you were shocked. And if you're on ground, you will notice that, no, there's something here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. I can feel the passion already. I can feel the passion already. Maybe now this will then take us to where you tell us where you come from and what shaped you. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. What were the things that shaped you as a child to the Kenechukwu that is sitting here in front of me today?
Yeah, I think you are getting better with my name, by the way. By the way, the meaning of my name, Kenechukwu, is thanks to God. Born into an Igbo family, born in Obosi. Obosi is in southeastern Nigeria, a small town that actually experienced the brunt of the Nigerian Civil War, with my mom losing her siblings and the rest. And then I was born into a polygamous family, of which my mom was not the favorite wife. And what that means is that from childhood, I felt that I'd never really belonged. and I could watch my mom struggling to make ends meet to take care of me and my siblings because my father never bore the financial responsibility for us. My mom was a petty trader selling frozen fish in the open market. After I would go and support her after my school. But at some point I decided, you know what, let me support this woman. But after when I come back from school, I go to Roman Hygienic Bakery, which is the only bakery we had then in the town. I'll buy some loaves of bread to come and display in front of the house because I wanted to support her. I was 8 years old then. Of course, the business never really made anything, but that was me trying to prove that I could actually support this woman. And I was able to buy her first Mother's Day gift. And I could see the joy in her heart. It's not that, of course, she's the one who gives me all the money I use, but the fact that her child could see the pain she's going through for me meant a lot. But also, it inspired me to focus on supporting marginalized groups. I also see that business could help. Entrepreneurship in any form could be a great tool to help solve some problems. So if you look at my master's and PhD research, I focus not just on entrepreneurship, but on marginalized groups, youth, but also an element of gender. So I looked at gender as a conversion factor in entrepreneurial development. So that has been my childhood experience has been a major inspiration for my focus on entrepreneurship, but not just entrepreneurship, but also among the marginalized group. Where I am, I'm looking at my journey to that as an entrepreneur, looking at how can we support young Africans. Of course, the youth unemployment across the continent is it's very terrible in South Africa. The last figure I saw was about 70%. That's 7 in 10 young South Africans that are willing and able to work cannot work. So that's the reason I do what I do.
Wow, I'm so impressed, but also touched about your upbringing. And I also see now the threads that, entrepreneurship started at a very young age for you.
Yeah.
But I'm also noticing that you have deep roots in academia. With your PhD. And you did mention that, your research interest is in youth education, digital innovation, and entrepreneurship. So what's your dream for entrepreneurship in Africa? If you were to wave a magic wand, what would you want to see?
Absolutely. I think Africa is a land, of course, rife with enormous problems and challenges. And entrepreneurship could become the vehicle for turning those problems, for solving those problems by turning them into solutions in a sustainable manner. And I think that young people could be at the forefront of that. Africa is the youngest in terms of demography, the youngest continent in the world and the fastest growing. If there is anything we have in Africa today, it is a young, talented population. So what can we do to equip them with knowledge, tools, attitude, whatever it would take to be able to start seeing business opportunities in all the numerous challenges we face on the continent? And for the most part, most of the time, some of these things, you don't even have to reinvent the wheel. That a lot of places where similar things have been applied, but figuring out how to contextualize it to fit into your specific unique condition. So my research has been focused on youth entrepreneurship development, because if we can get young people to start thinking in that direction and then providing them the necessary support to solve Africa's problems, since, like I said, the young people are our major asset, I think we'll see huge breakthrough in making significant progress towards Africa's development agenda.
You mentioned the word equipping the young people with the right skills to succeed in the world. And I'm curious to know about your experience as a Mandela Rhodes Scholar. How did that shape your leadership journey and your outlook when it comes to entrepreneurship and youth development?
Yeah. Mandela Rhodes has been, I think it's actually been one of the most important experience of my life because it gave me a platform. First and foremost, it actually made me feel that I belong, that I'm somebody. I remember when I got that call, I said, oh, I could actually be a leader. Of course, I've been doing something before then, but to have someone, especially for somebody like me that went through a lot of rejection growing up, to have someone who you respect, who have some big standing in the public space, say that you matter and you can do something on the continent. So that's a good place to start in terms of it has that impact on my life, the way I look at myself. And of course, the training itself, one of the things that we learned is how to handle complexities. Nothing is really black and white for the most part. And the training was very immersive in that. And now running a startup in a evolving space, and the space is evolving at such an unprecedented speed. So we're dealing with talent development, education, but also we are dealing with the labor market at a time that artificial intelligence is sweeping across the entire ecosystem, and things are changing every day. You have to be nimble and agile and keep adapting and learning. So some of those tools that I learned in handling complexity is coming to be helpful, but also even how to be an authentic leader. Why you should be flexible in your approach, because things change. Your vision should reflect who you are. Why are you here? Why do you believe you are here on earth? It has to have meaning. And that comes down to who you are. You have to be authentic to yourself. Don't do things that you don't have any serious regard for. You're wasting your life. Realizing or making a decision to stick to the authentic self is also one of the things that was actually inculcated into us as Mandela Rhodes Scholars. Then self-awareness, of course, you have to realize both your strengths and weaknesses. You are not all that. You have your limitations. Celebrate your strength. Leverage it. Don't hide it, because that's your strength, but also realize your weakness. And that's where you need others. You need to marry in terms of your strengths with other people's strength in order to make something of tangible. And now as a leader, being able to manage the dynamics of working with different people who show up authentically, bringing their best self, their strength, and marrying your strength, you guys could create something magical. But it begins with really being authentic. Mandela Rhodes helped me to come to a point where I said, I want to be me. I want to run my own race. I want to figure out why I'm here and to pursue it. And then the network has also been very influential. The network of the alumni has been very influential. Some of my business partners, in fact, maybe I should say now, our angel investor at Mozisha is actually Atatin, one of our angel investors. So yeah. Been a great experience being a Mandela Rhodes Scholar.
And being exposed to what young people from other countries are experiencing. And I'm sure you found similarities as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, which is, I'm sure, is making an impact in your business, which we're going to be talking about now. Looking at how Africa has the highest population of young people, and yet unemployment still remains a big challenge. So you then started your organization, Mozisha, which is dedicated to bridging the skills gap and to empowering young people with entrepreneurial education and mentorship. So what motivated you to start the business first and foremost?
Like I said earlier on, my career trajectory has been hugely influenced by my upbringing to take care of marginalized people. And I see entrepreneurship as a part to that. Before then, I worked in the NGO space a bit. While I see that they are doing a lot of great things, but there were things that I wasn't very comfortable. First is that I have to rely on other people's money to do things, which is great, but it could limit what I will have to do, right? So I felt that solving Africa's problem through a sustainable manner may be a better way, because it gives me leeway to do more things. So I felt that even when I was registering Mozisha, I wanted to register it as a for-profit. Even though we had focused on social cause, I felt that that's a better, Then in terms of what we're doing with young people, I said earlier on that if there is any asset we have on the continent, it is our young people. So what is it that they need to be able to move ahead? skills gap is a huge thing on the continent. Each year we produce upward of between 12 and 20 million people released into the labor market. Many of them don't actually have market relevant skills. They are just lost in the crowd trying to figure out their lives, and there are no jobs. We're suffering more than we have more than 3 million job deficit every year, and we're still producing these graduates every year. So we figured out, what can we do? Okay, we need to equip them with market relevant skills, but how do we do that? We have to do it differently. Universities are doing what they could, but traditionally universities are slow in terms of evolving to the changing dynamics of what the industry requires. So we have steps by step process. First of all, but you go through the theoretical, which is actually combined with some practicals as you undertake that. Then after that, we also have the apprenticeship and the mentorship. And that is really to help you in terms of really building real life work experience, to help you experience what it means to actually apply what you've learned in a real life setting. So matching you up with businesses so you build work portfolio, but also you have the opportunity of actually understanding what it means to work in real work setting. Then, like I said, also mentorship. We are matched you with experienced people to guide you. There are a few questions you may have about your career that you may be struggling with, that somebody who has been there could actually offer you some insight. Ultimately, whether it's the training itself, the mentorship, the apprenticeship, then we also do talent placement, connecting this talent with businesses. And then, of course, some of those talents are actually trained to be entrepreneurs. It's not everybody that's actually going to be an entrepreneur. Sometimes it's actually better go and experience the industry, contribute, work in the industry. Then you figure out where there are gaps in terms of business opportunities. So it's maybe sometimes not the best to jump into entrepreneurship at first, but ultimately our plan is to build an ecosystem that enables talent development, talent deployment, so that we can give young Africans opportunities for a dignified living. If there is anything I believe in from the bottom of my heart, is that no young African should be denied opportunity to fulfill their destiny.
So how does it work? Is it the young unemployed people that contact you guys to say, hey, I need help? Or do you work with corporates to say, let us know if you're looking for a person? How do people access Mozisha?
So both. So for example, I receive emails all the time. People actually email me directly saying, oh, I need a job. Yeah, but we have the formal platform where people actually apply to be a talent of Mozisha platform. Of course, we still have to review and do assessment. We have a free training program online that people can actually equip themselves with skills. Then, of course, there are more other trainings that you have to pay for. But for businesses will reach out to us, for example, I say, you know what, I need a data scientist. And they have their own criteria. If, for example, they say they need somebody with 7 years experience that has that's worked in fintech, we cannot provide an entry-level talent. So we have to look for a talent that match that particular specification they gave. But of course, some other businesses are willing to take on the entry-level ones. So it depends on what the businesses want. We actually have to provide it. But for the talent themselves, like I said, we provide an array of opportunities for them to build their skills, match up with businesses in terms of apprenticeship, also, of course, providing them also access to job employment, depending on what is available, because, of course, businesses have to take care of them.
So do you work with only graduates, or can anyone contact you guys and say, I need help? And then you'll give them the steps of their point of entry.
Yeah, actually, we are not very rigid in terms of saying you have to be graduate. For the most part, because we focus more on digital skills, the people that actually reach out to us are usually graduates, right? Because, for example, if you want to really learn data, having a degree could help, because it kind of lays the foundation. If, for example, you start with data cleaning with Excel, data analysis with SQL, or visualization with Power BI or Tableau, whatever it is, having that foundation, educational foundation, is a good thing. So you may struggle if you don't have the foundation to be able to do all those things. So we are not strict. We are not saying, listen, if you don't have this, you can't make it. Because there are people that actually self-taught that are able to navigate those things and still do well. So we look more at what you can do, your drive, and what you are able to produce. We also check, of course, we have to see from your work, your portfolio, what you are currently doing and what you want to do. And we give you a chance. Like I said, we even have a free training program where you could actually learn by yourself and start building portfolio for yourself. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You're speaking a lot of tech language, though, eh? It sounds like you're working a lot with tech things. And you've also written extensively about, AI's impact on business. So how do you see AI revolutionizing entrepreneurship in Africa, and what should entrepreneurs do to adapt?
Yeah, I think we live in an interesting time. Artificial intelligence is almost upending most industries. I think it could be a good thing for us on the continent, especially because we have energetic young people that are always looking out for opportunity, entrepreneurial opportunity. But how do we go about it? First is that I would advise there are a lot of market frictions in terms of gaps in the market that young people could actually focus on solving using AI. In order to be able to understand the market well, maybe having good work experience in that space may be a good thing, so that you're able to have first-hand experience of where the frictions are, where the gaps are, so that you now figure out how do I deploy AI to actually solve that. So it could be very helpful to actually get some work experience so that you focus on areas you have deep experience, expertise, understanding both the market and the customer, and then solve a problem. Then, for a start, maybe you don't have to wait until you have enough money to go full-time. With artificial intelligence, you can actually start playing around by the side. Because with these tools, you could do your designs, you could do your, even build your applications without incurring huge capital, and you could, there are a lot of things you could do. You don't even need to employ a legal, a lawyer or an accountant. You do most of those things. This tool can actually help you do. So the barrier to entry is lowered, but now it takes serious intentionality. You need to know what you want to do. And sometimes when you find yourself in the industry, in the space, you'll be able to understand, this is a problem that I want to solve. I believe this is what I'm cut out for. Then you start kind of working at it, creating small project to be able to solve it, so that you allow the customer tell you what they want. You start playing around it. That you're understanding, you are tweaking. Then at some point you say, I think we've got something here. I'm able to seek investors. Let's go full time. So it may be a good thing to actually start off as a side project. Now it's easy to start a side project with what artificial intelligence is doing in any sector you are looking at, whether it's health, agri, whatever it is. You could actually leverage this artificial intelligence to provide you with the baseline resources to actually make progress until you're able to figure out the market for yourself. So I think there are a lot of opportunities that we are seeing now with artificial intelligence. You don't have to wait until you have the money to employ everybody, because these tools are there for you to use. Then on the other hand, that's for the entrepreneurs. For young people who are thinking about, I'm going to lose my job, that's a serious concern. People have said this several times. You probably will not lose your job to AI, but you lose your job to people that use AI. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You need to understand what is happening in the labor market. These tools are becoming so powerful, and they are changing, and they are building, they are developing more capabilities every day. And the truth of the matter is, nobody can tell you for sure how the labor market is going to be like in the next 5 years. But the most important thing you can do for yourself is to keep preparing for it. Start figuring out, because it's an emerging world, and that is one thing that Africa has an advantage in. At a time when the information asymmetry is kind of lowered, right? So we're able to understand, for example, we are playing with these tools as they are coming into the market, just like the American kids are playing with them. As OpenAI releases new model, we're able to play with it. It's not as if they say, okay, this one is for Americans. No, we can actually live. So we have it's almost like there's a leveling of the playing ground. We can start figuring out things, start playing with this and start understanding. Nobody actually, of course, we still have gaps in terms of the AI infrastructure. They are still in the West and the rest. But the point is that in terms of using those tools to figure out how we could actually make use of them ourselves. So for the talent themselves, the people, everybody is not going to be an entrepreneur, like I said. Don't wait. I am telling you, by the time you are finishing your 4 years degree, everything you've learned might have been irrelevant. The world is changing so fast. And our universities, like I said, are very slow in adapting. We're still teaching basic things, right? And most of those things they're teaching you so that you come and become an entry-level person and start learning onto a mentor. Most businesses today, or many businesses today, don't even care about employing entry levels because ChatGPT is doing those entry-level work for them, whether it's drafting legal cases and all those things. So now you have to start thinking ahead of time. What would my life be after 4 years? By then, OpenAI would have released the most powerful model that could do practically everything. You've heard Facebook CEO, Meta CEO, Mark, I think he was on Joe Rogan podcast, and he said that this year they are trying to even replace their mid-level software developers with artificial intelligence. Mid-level, not even entry-level. That's the level they are at now. So if they are thinking of replacing the mid-level, what about entry-level? So as a young person, don't just wait, thinking that everything is fall into my laps. Let me just get a degree. It's becoming an empty certificate. You need to figure out what is happening in the labor market and position yourself. Yes, AI is disrupting the market. It's going to be. How do you position yourself? Because you are unique. There's something you have that AI may not have. Your unique experience, your failures, there's a story you have. You could figure out how to leverage AI to bring it into the world, and it becomes your vision. So my advice to young people, whether you're a talent or a business person, start playing with these tools, start understanding, immerse yourself in trying to understand how to leverage them so that they become an advantage for you. As for them changing the labor market and the world, it's going to happen, and it's happening at a faster rate. I read recently that even graduates from Ivy League colleges in the US, law graduates that usually companies rush for. Entry level, they say even the top students don't have jobs again, because why would a company employ an entry level person where ChatGPT does most of the work? Why? Because businesses are profit oriented. It's about maximizing shareholders' value. So you just want to get the best result. So I think we need to sit up and embrace that this is the new reality. But if we take advantage of it, maybe we might be winners here.
But do you think we will win the war against unemployment? Now it feels like we are chasing an unattainable goal.
I think deciding not to chase means that we've lost completely. But chasing gives us a chance. Maybe we can win it. The CEO of BlackRock said something recently. He said that countries with shrinking unemployment and the shrinking population stands better chance in this AI period, because they don't have to worry about the social consequences of displacing humans. That touched me, because this is the time that Africa is experiencing its population boom. Asia had its population boom. If you look at from 1950 to 2020, Asia produced, 68% of the global population growth was from Asia. And that gave rise to, of course, huge economic development we saw there. Africa is projected to produce close to 90% of the global population growth for the next 80 years. 90% of every human being that will be born over the next, from now to 2100, is going to be in Africa. 2100 are going to be in Africa. So what are we going to do with it? Now, there may be some value in terms of what we're able to do. But the point is that we need to first of all decide what should be development for us. The advantage we have is that we have a growing population base, we have a growing consumer base, because those shrinking populations could be producing those goods and services. But who is going to use them? So we have the market. But we don't have to the greatest mistake, or one of the greatest mistakes we'll make, is to just allow things to slide by, and at the end we become dumping ground for those countries to produce those things, and they use us as dumping ground. We just use those services. Then we don't have the resources to take care of our teeming population. But if we understand our strength, we have the population, we have the market, let's start developing the products and services. Now, one of the things that artificial intelligence has done is to lower the cost of intelligence. So we may not have all the experts in the world, but if we can actually figure out how to use these tools, we could start solving problems, producing products and services for ourselves. And also we are blessed with the mineral resources, right? So these are some of the things we need to do, but we need to actually come up and figure out what is our goal as the continent in terms of what we want to achieve, understanding what is in our hand. We have hundreds and hundreds of millions of young people. We cannot afford to fail. We cannot afford to fail.
And failure is actually one of the biggest challenge that entrepreneurs have to navigate, And I think as much as AI is so good, it can't teach you self-awareness. There's self-awareness, personal growth, healing, all the EQ elements that will help you to thrive as an entrepreneur. Those skills, you can't download that. So I'm interested in knowing how you yourself have navigated failure, because this is what they're going to be going through, and you cannot find that on AI.
Absolutely. It's painful. It's painful. If you're scared of rejection, if you're scared of failure, maybe think twice before you go into entrepreneurship. There was, last 2 years, there was a period that we were sending out about 1,000 emails every day to prospect with the hope that we'll get business. We did it consecutively for 3 months, not a single response. But you have to believe in the vision. You want to provide opportunities for young Africans. You could have spent, just get a full-time job and at least know your salary is guaranteed. What are you doing here? So that's why you need to have conviction, right? Then you need to understand that failure could provide you a platform to learn something. Yeah. I read a quote a few days ago that says, some years you win, some years you build character. And that character building is related to self-awareness. How are you feeling? I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling rejected. But why? Because these people are not responding to my email. Okay, what does that teach me? Maybe they don't care about my product. Remember, it is not about you. Clients or potential clients cares about themselves and their needs. If you're not solving their problems, they don't care about you. Everybody cares for themselves. Okay, maybe I need to build something. Maybe I need to tweak something. Maybe I need to do something to understand what the client needs so I can solve what they need. So that becomes, you start thinking about. So for example, because we provide talent, we place talent with business all over the world. Africa has not really been the preferred place for talents, for especially companies in the West, especially in the US. They will prefer India, Philippines, and the rest. So how to change that? Because we don't have the best reputation when it comes to digital talent, especially my country, Nigeria.
I don't even want to go there.
Yeah. So how do you convince these businesses that these software developers you are providing for them are not going to rob their banks and the rest? But you have to understand that's the reality, and now start figuring out how do you change that with every business opportunity you get. But you need to own it. This is the space I'm in. How do I navigate it? There are nights, I'm telling you, even this morning I woke up, I was just shedding tears. It's part of the journey. You actually decided to pursue this thing, but you've got to make it work. Now, you have to make it work in a way that is self-aware, aware of your self-condition, but also the context, the evolving context. Artificial intelligence, for example, is reshaping the world of work. If you're placing entry talent now, it's very difficult. What do? You you need to provide them alternative learning platforms. So, for example, what you're trying to do now is to have a platform where your people can actually start building those experiences by themselves without having to work with business, where you could just replicate like work environment digitally so that they can start playing with it and understand building work experience. Then, hopefully, there they could actually start doing things, because many businesses don't care about entry talents anymore. So you have to figure a way to solve it. It takes you being self-aware, understand, yes, acknowledge how you feel, understand the evolving condition, the market dynamics, accept it, then figure out what can I do in spite of this. So it takes a lot of, and it can have serious mental toll on you. It can have, so you need to also ensure you have people you speak with, who you complain to and sometimes cry. But it's a rewarding journey. Each time I see that I'm able to pay salaries, help people meet their goals, I'm happy. Yeah.
What are the tools that you use personally to build that resilience?
Sometimes, I think it's what Nelson Mandela said, until you've been through the lowest valley, you will never appreciate the highest mountain. I've actually seen life. I told people when I came to South Africa to study, there was time I was doing 6 jobs and I was a full-time student. I've slept at this Cape Town train station because I didn't have money to go back home. And I knew that the train will only start running by 5 a.m. So I would just stay until it's 5 a.m. and I will go back home. So experience sometimes helps you to build those resilience. But also, your why is important. Why are you doing what you're doing? What does it mean to you? So what does Africa, you want to help contribute in some way to help develop the continent. What does that even mean to you? Does it mean that you are not willing to allow the pain and the suffering of our forefathers to be in vain? Maybe that's your why. Our ancestors paid the price. We need to do something to make this continent a prosperous place. Maybe that's your why. That could help you navigate the challenges. Or maybe it could be your family, your mom, your dad. You want to pay the price. You believe this thing would work out and you're willing to commit. Like we say, you need to be self-aware in the process. Don't be so driven by passion that you forget the reality, because your business still has to function within the context. And if the context is changing and you're not understanding it, it's never going to work. So you need to figure out your why. And then, like I also said, experience helps you, because when you've experienced failures and things got better, for example, I knew things have been worse in the past and they got better. It kind of gives me hope that things will be better. You know, I tell people, I say, everywhere I travel on the continent, I see young people who they have this tremendous, they have aspiration and hope that they can do something. And many times they fail. Many times the government fails them, but they continue to nurture hope and ambition with hope that someday they will be part of making the continent proud. So figure out your why and hold on to it.
And you're also a praying man.
Prayer for me is a tool that helps me navigate this journey. I don't think I'm the most spiritual, but it has worked wonders in my life. I tell people that sometimes I would rather deny that I have a hand than to deny that I have a God. I may not be perfect. I have a lot of weaknesses, but I still believe in Him.
So your company has placed over 300 young people into jobs or worked with entrepreneurs.
There are people that are placed as apprentices. There are people that are placed as proper talents in jobs. So it depends. And then we've trained quite a lot, especially with the work we did with the DAD lecturer program. We've had like thousands that have been part of such programs.
So you've worked with thousands and thousands of young people. What are the 3 traits that every young person should develop in order to succeed?
I've mentioned some of them, but I'll reiterate it. First is know yourself. You know, figure out what interests you. As commonplace as it is, they say that sometimes your pain is a pointer to the problem you were created to solve. Anybody that knows me knows two things that like, if you stay with me, talk with me for a whole day, these things will become very clear. I'm passionate about Africa, and I'm passionate about Igbo people, and I'm passionate about young people. Those three categories of, if you stay with me one day, you don't see it, then there's something wrong. I talk about it. So I could be scrolling through Instagram, and I see a young boy of 6 years working in the mines in Congo. I start shedding tears. Africa is murdering his own children. And that person will say that it's life. There's nothing I can do about it. It's not their problem, it's not their burden, but for me, it is my burden. So figure out what you were cut out for. It could show by the things that interest you, things that gets you up. That would help. So that your life has a meaning. That when you are 60, when you are 70, you feel that I actually contributed. It's not about the scale of the work. Oh, I employed millions. But I actually staked my life. I did my best to do the things that I believed I was called to do. I touched even if it's just one life. I provided employment for just one person. And who knows, that one person could also change the lives of many others. So figure out your why. Then we've talked about building resilience. It's so important. It's so important. You need that stamina, because you're going to face rejection. In fact, Jeff Bezos, of course, as powerful as he is today, and as powerful as his ideas would appear to us today, he pitched to about 60 investors and had received over 40 rejections. You have to keep pitching. Receive 40 rejections, but you still go.
Yeah.
Despite his background in terms of his academic excellence and everything. So that tells you with your own experience, what to anticipate. It's a game of number. That is why your conviction is important, because that keeps you going throughout. Then the third one is really be customer focused. If you're trying to solve a problem, even for your job, I will speak to entrepreneurs, I'll speak to talents that are just looking to work. Entrepreneurs, you're trying to solve a problem. Ask yourself, it's not about you and your ideas. It's about what the client wants, what the customer wants. You should be willing, flexible, to tweak it to suit the customer's needs. At the end of the day, they are the ones who will pay for it. So you need to be obsessed and focused on them. Then for the talent, the world is evolving. The labor market is changing. What will be the needs of the employers in the next few years? What do you think they will require? For example, there are 3 things that are important now for many employers. They need individuality, curiosity, and creativity. Artificial intelligence these AI tools does a lot of the basic stuff. They need the unique human being that you are, your experience. That AI cannot replicate. The pains you went through, the rejections you went through, that could be a source of an input into the system that could make all the difference in the business. So you need to show up authentically. So understand the evolving market. Figure out, ask yourself, what would the employers likely need, so that you tweak, I won't use the word tweak your life, but you adjust your approach and what you are offering. Because even though you are a talent offering your service, you're also like a business person, and what you sell is your time. You want to make sure you're optimizing the value you're providing so that you earn more. That is important. It's not as if your employer, they may be sentimental and say, we care about it, this is the family. No, if you are not adding value, you are out. That's the honest truth, because the business has to be sustainable. If they're not making money, they can't pay you. So you need to understand, how am I adding value, and how can I add the most value? Considering what AI is doing now and is having the greatest shift we have not seen in a long time, how do I position myself? So curiosity, you need to start thinking about how to be curious about issues. Reading a lot could help with that. Then you talk about your individuality. Find yourself. If you don't find yourself in this season we are entering in, AI does a lot of the general stuff. Find yourself. Your uniqueness will sell.
I was laughing when you're talking about talent and interest, because the other day when we're talking, you said to me that a lot of Nigerian prospects, they don't know how to answer this question. What are your hobbies and interests? and you have to coach them and also coach companies that,
To understand.
to understand that if you ask that question, you might not get the answer you're looking for.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's, we are too serious with life. But you need to understand where we are coming from. A land of severe challenges. Everybody's busy. Everybody's hustling. So if you ask them what a hobby, we're talking about, life is serious. I've told you earlier on that one of my mentors, Bishop Oedebo, said it takes a serious approach to secure your glorious future. So imagine we grow up with that, it has to be serious. Everything has to be serious.
There's no time for hobbies.
Then when you see these clients, especially from the US, trying to interview this talent, and they are trying to get the human side of them, and they are not. And they're not seeing it. They're confused. Then I later got to know, I've not tried it myself, but I got to know from one of our clients in UK that even Indians are also like that. But I've not experienced it, so I'm just quoting what he said. Yeah. But if you are talking to a typical South African, they just...
I go fishing.
Yes, and they're very, And it's understanding those cultural context of the talents and the business are important. So one of the things, of course, we do is really helping clients and the talents understand, and also the clients understand, and helping to upskill talents in that they understand that you are first and foremost a human. And like I said earlier on, it's going to be more prominent now with AI doing a lot of the mechanical stuff, a lot of the things that are automatable, right? You need to figure out your human side. You need to leverage that. It's no longer something that is just a pass-by. It's something that is actually should be the center of your offering now. It's something you should take serious. Become self-aware, know yourself, and let that understand that it's a major investment now to know yourself and a major selling point for you to be able to navigate the evolving world. So I think for my Nigerian brothers, I think understanding that you're human, you have your weaknesses.
And find some hobbies.
Absolutely. Not that they don't have, but it's just that they take life so serious that, you know what it means to live in Lagos. I have some of my friends that are bankers in Lagos. Let me paint a picture. You're working in a bank in Lagos or with KPMG, whatever. You live in Ajah or whatever. In order to beat the traffic, you leave home 3 a.m. in the morning so that you can get to work by 8 a.m. Then you leave work by 5 p.m. You get home around 11, 12. Sure. So you have 3 hours to sleep. The next day you're going. That's your life. The only breathing space you have is probably weekend. That is your life. And when you're on the traffic with all the hooting and everybody's crazy, people are driving the pavement. So you need to understand the context. Everybody's serious. Everybody's frowning.
They don't have time for hobbies. I love that.
Yeah.
They don't have time for hobbies. And I mean, as we conclude, you travel quite a lot, and you in Europe, in the US, and wherever. What's unique about an African entrepreneur compared to all other entrepreneurs? Because we know every other entrepreneur is hustling and whatever, but what's like a unique African problem that the rest of the world is not experiencing?
I will answer this question like this. There are some of the elements of entrepreneurship. The first is idea generation and opportunity recognition. Like I said, Africa has so many problems. So it's easy to recognize opportunity because those problems can easily become. And the funny thing is that most of those problems are problems that have been solved in other places. So it's easy. So in terms of idea generation and idea creation and opportunity recognition, we are doing fairly well. Then the second level is something you could look at innovation, creating either new business, new products and services, creating new business model or processes in order to tap into that opportunity. For that to work, research and development is important in order to be able to innovate. You may copy something from America, but how does it apply within the unique South African context? And that is one area we are lacking, or one of the areas we are lacking. Let me give you an example. Globally, the percentage of the GDP that is invested in research and development is about 2.2. Africa is less than 0.5. And even that 0.5 is mostly between South Africa and Egypt, and mostly run by universities which provide basic research as against applied research that is private sector driven. So we are not investing a lot in research and development, which would help to breed the kind of innovation we need to turn those problems into viable, sustainable business opportunity. At least we should aim to have at least 1% of our GDP on research and development. So that's a cap in terms of what is. Then, of course, you now look at mobilization of resources to actually address the opportunity you've figured out and you are innovating. That's also where we are having a huge gap because of course, underdeveloped both our investment ecosystem and the rest. So in terms of recognizing opportunities, we are doing well. Every young person in Nigeria is an entrepreneur. I'm telling you, every young person is either they're selling something, like everybody's just, they have an eye for business. And that is why it seems as if we are good at packaging. Because you always have to sell. So you have to position yourself for something. Because the dire situation, they say necessity is the mother of invention. The dire situation on ground makes it likely that you have to position yourself there. You're always looking for opportunities. But for you to be able to address that opportunity and innovate properly in a way that will bring about proper business, we need to invest in research. And of course, we need to mobilize resources. So those are two elements that we are missing. And the other elements, I just focus on those.
So it's not laziness, because there's this thing that, people from Africa are lazy. They don't want to think. They want to think deeply or sit with a subject long enough.
Well, it's easy for someone to consider young Africans lazy until they go to Congo and see young 5, 6 years, 7 years old children working under the rain, mining. Then tell me if they are lazy. Until you've seen war, your parents killed in your front, go through the trauma, then tell me if they are lazy. Until you finish your time, you go to university, you go to primary school in Nigeria, sitting under the tree to learn. Tell me if they are lazy. You study programs in the university. You never even had. When I was doing a medical program in Nigeria, we were using cadaver, raw human flesh. And these are usually criminals, armed robbers that were killed, and they are now put inside chemical to preserve, and you have to cut them. And so you have to navigate all those things to be able to succeed. And tell me if you're lazy. You are playing with computer and modems and things that makes it easy for you to actually explore human body in a way that is less. You need to understand what the young Africans are going through, the context, and what they are able to make of that dire situation. They are not lazy. The reason why, for example, people complain, yes, a lot of Nigerians, you see a lot of Nigerians, while I don't condemn scamming people, but I blame our government. We have failed the young people. They are looking for survival. They have the skills. We don't create an opportunity to be able to exploit those skills and energies and talent in the right way. They will have to survive. It's the survival of the fittest. And when they don't see opportunity, they start looking for who they will scam. But if you can figure out how to actually help them, actually catalyze those energies and those talents into something meaningful, I think they will feel that it's more dignified to actually add value than to look for who to steal for. So I don't think they are lazy. I think they lack opportunities. I don't think they are talentless. I think they lack opportunities. I think young Africans are the most creative of any people I've seen. And I've traveled Australia, Europe. They are very creative, full of stories. But behind that, there's a lot of pains and experience. Yeah. Let me stop there before I start crying.
Dr. Kene, I think I can call you Dr. Kene now.
Thank you.
After this time that we've spent together, I think I qualify to shorten your name. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was awesome.
It's been great being here. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Mandela Rhodes Foundation podcast. To learn more about the Mandela Rhodes Foundation, visit our website at www.mandelarhodes.org. boldest.org. Follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram for more updates. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your platform of choice to be notified of new episodes. This is a Volume Podcast production.